Hi everyone, welcome to the second episode of Thinking Through Making. This is an interview style podcast where I interview other creators about their creative life and work. Today on the show we have Laura Boyd Ceramics, who is a ceramicist here in Northern Ireland, who has a lot of nature and I said this about Marina, but she does also have a lot of nature inspired designs with her pottery and colours, and we talk about she's a twin mum, so we talk about that a little bit. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this episode. Hi Laura, thanks so much for joining me in the new Thinking Through Making series today.
Thanks.
Do you want to tell us a bit about yourself and how you ended up making ceramics?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually have I have the beaker that I did the glaze test on. We actually have a similar background, don't we? Because we both did the same art foundation program and a photography degree. But I think we worked out that I was a year ahead of you on foundation. But yeah, so I've always had like an arts background and, studied different kind of forms in that way. And then I'd never really touched clay, but I'd always wanted to. And I don't know why, but it had never really been presented at school in art classes and stuff like that. So we were living in Edinburgh, Gary and I really wanted to like start like trying to do something more creative because I was working as an office manager. And so I was looking up classes and I'd worked out with my boss that I would go down to 3 days and then start doing like some pottery classes. But then he changed his mind and told me that I could have 2 days or 5 days, and 2 days pay didn't really cover what we needed. So it didn't work out that time. And then a few months later, we actually left Edinburgh and went traveling for like 5 or 6 months. And we came back to here, but we planned to go back to Edinburgh. Like we had our one-way flight booked again. But when we were back here, I took some classes then in downhill. I don't know if you know McCall Gilfillan, but she's really brilliant. And yeah, we took a class with her, and it kind of like felt like really just right away from the start this natural like connection with clay. And I think she could see it a bit too because she actually had me come and help her out, do a few things in exchange for wheel time over like a couple of months, which was just the best start. And then that time also we were pregnant and we knew we were, and we were still going back to Edinburgh. But then at the first scan, there was two babies. And so suddenly it was a high risk pregnancy and I didn't know how things would go. So we chose to just stay here near our parents and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then also I kept doing like helping McCall, and I also took classes with Lorna Noble at the Flowerfield Centre, which are brilliant. I think Fiona Shannon runs them now. Mm-hmm. But yeah, then having twins as well, like the cost of them to go to childcare was what I would have brought in. So we made the decision that I would there was not really much point. I would have rather been with my baby. So we made the decision that I would just kind of be with them and I could keep trying to like do this, and kind of had like a window of time to try and make it like work, before they went to school. Mm-hmm. So I guess, it was a need to find creativity from working in jobs that weren't, and trying to find the right medium that I'd always been looking for. Mm-hmm. And yeah, like I said, I just think when I just started, I really was like, yeah, this is it. And yeah, connected with it really well.
So I'm kind of interested, sorry, this is off script now, in your photography. So did you fall out of love with it, or like, did it inform your ceramics in some way with color, or like, I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely think like it informs it in a lot of ways. And obviously it's super useful because I have to take nice photos all the time of my work. But I don't know. It's not that I fell out of love with it. I just think that maybe I rushed into picking like a specialism. Mm-hmm. Without, if I was to do it now, I don't know that I would have gone to do that as like my degree. Maybe I would have done a broader like art and design one. Like I don't feel like I was ready at that point to kind of pinpoint myself. And yeah, like I said, I hadn't tried like clay that yet. So, you know, I think I was looking for something and it didn't quite fulfill that for me. But it is something, you know, I always like joke with people who've done degrees and don't use them. It's like, well, I use mine every day. Take photos. But yeah, I don't know. It definitely helps. And I think, you know, when you're used to framing shots and thinking about like colors and things, that's going to naturally benefit you in whatever creative you're in.
Yeah, I agree. I think I definitely apart from my foundation year, I was never really into black and white photography, although I feel like it does teach you a lot. But it was always when I was at uni, I loved the color dark room. That was always like my favorite place to be. And I definitely think that influences the way I think about color now, I would say. Talking about what influences your ceramics and photography. I know you've experimented a bit with like found objects, and I know the natural environment has an influence on your work. So just wondering, could you tell us a bit about that and what you've done with that? And yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for me, the best thing about living here is the coastline. And like not just like the colors, yeah. And I think also our weather here kind of naturally desaturates everything a little, which is kind of what I like. And it's all kind of soft, and just yeah, really natural kind of hues. And also like if you think about the coastline, it's got your raggedy rock kind of cliffs and soft rolling beaches. And they're all just those kind of textures and like swirls that I'm always trying to like put onto the pots. And naturally, I have a very large shell collection.
Don't we all?
Yeah, but like in my studio, just this one like little bit that I just kind of always keep my favorites on. And if I get like one that changes it, I'll swap it out. I try and keep it to just this width. But like one of my kids in particular, her pockets are always filled with so many shells, and she's like, "This one, mommy," and I'm like trying to help me. So it definitely all comes from like, I think it's quite like an earthy landscape that we have, and yeah, with the soft kind of rainy, darker weather, it definitely like massively influences the colors as well as how I think about like the kind of forms. I've experimented like before with less so with mugs because I mean you need your mug to kind of be a circle mostly. So there's only so much you can do with that. But with like candlestick holders in the past I've made ones that were kind of inspired by the cliffs and like that jet up from the beach and stuff like that. So it definitely is something that's always in my mind. And yeah, just every time I go to the beach I'm like, look at this color. It's always just yeah, my kind of hues, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And didn't you make some use seaweed to like mark make on some mugs for, was it Brockgammon
Yeah,
or Minor
yeah. I do mugs and bowls for Brockgammon and I glaze them using seaweed as the brush. So it makes a really, really nice effect. And it's just, yeah, another way to bring that kind of landscape into the work I'm doing. But yeah, I really like how that turns out. And they're always kind of, I mean, they have similarity. It's the same colors I'm using, but they're always different and made pottery piece as opposed to like, you know, I say shop bought, but you know what I mean? Like they're not uniform, so they all have these different things, just like they do in nature.
That's really interesting. So yeah, my next question is kind of about the functionality of your pottery. Do you prefer me to say pottery or ceramics? Is it
Either? I don't have a preference. I don't know.
okay?
You know,
Maybe
it is something I thought about because obviously I'm Laura Boyd ceramics, and I
yeah.
remember I was like, I don't know which one. But
Like
I
is
just went,
pottery exclusively pots, like vessels, and ceramics is like it could be anything from like.
maybe more kind of a design version of the word, perhaps. I'm not sure.
So that kind of leads into the next question nicely. Like, I don't know if you've done any more like sculptural pieces, but like how important is the functionality of your pottery? Like, obviously you have to, as you just said, drink out of a mug, but like ceramics is like kind of an interesting thing because it's on a sliding scale of like, it can be the thing you use every day to drink your cup of tea out of, or it can be like a sculpture in a gallery, or it can be like a wee ornament in somebody's house. So like, I'm just kind of interested in that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I remember whenever I started kind of making like more dinnerware, like mugs and plates and things, that I felt like I wasn't like being artistic. And like Gary was like, "What are you talking about? Like this is like art that you use." But I think I had in my head that it was like a different kind of category, but it isn't. Like you can elevate like your cup of coffee with, you know,
Yeah.
functional art. So yeah, definitely functionality over like sculpture, I would say, for my work. But it's something that I'm always thinking about. I talk about like a hand feel for like a bowl, you know, how like it fits in your hand, and cups and handles are obviously super important. So it's all stuff to play around with and kind of find the shapes.
Yeah.
Um the more sculptural, I guess, kind of things I would do are like vases where you can have a bit more of a free form so long as it still has like a hole in the top to put things in. But
Yeah.
actually like, you know, a beaker can be so multi-purpose. You could have that ornamental, you can fill it
Yeah.
with anything or put pens, and like I think it depends on what your usage for a pot as to how you're going to view it personally too.
Mhm.
So yeah.
That's really interesting, yeah, to like elevate the everyday. And I think more and more people now, you know, they don't just buy a mug to drink off. They do like they put it on their me. This is what I do. I buy a nice mug and put it on my open shelf and then look at it when I'm not using it, going, "Oh, isn't
Yeah,
that nice?"
it makes a difference what you surround yourself with. I'm a big believer of
Yeah,
that, especially with kids. Like, there's going to be stuff, so I want it to look nice because I have to look.
yeah, yeah. And it definitely, I feel like you should, I suppose, in the more like, I don't know, you'd have like your Sunday outfit or whatever, or like your good clothes, and like you wouldn't wear them every day. But I kind of feel like you should spend your money on things that you're going to like touch and see every day. Like, don't do up the guest room, do up your kitchen or like
Yeah,
good room, or not your good room, your bedroom that you're going to like use all the time and like get the good of. Like,
yeah,
I think my husband, he definitely talked about like he talked about door handles a lot, and like he's like, you should definitely get like a nice door handle because you touch it every day. And
yeah.
that like really like, oh yeah, that's true. Like it seems like a really ordinary thing, but like if you put some thought into it, like it can actually make every time you touch it nice.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. It really does. The same applies, I think, to all aspects of life, even like clothes, like your beautiful jumpers. I remember as a kid, anytime we got something new, we'd be like, "Oh, don't wear it. Like, keep it for good." But
Yeah.
it, like, I think now, like, trying to live more intentionally, like, you should be kind of thinking about what you're bringing into your home because it has to go somewhere after. So
Yeah.
you need to be intentional and make your life nice.
I love that. Make your life nice.
Yeah, there's enough in the world, you know, these little things can make a big difference.
Totally. And yeah, you can't be scared to use the good things. Sure you can.
I think it helps the fact that I know I can make more if like the kids drop a ball. I can just go
Yes.
on.
My mother-in-law, maybe I shouldn't say this on here, but she's very precious about her mug collection. And if she drops one, she's always like really sad. But I'm like, but now you get to like pick what one to replace it
Yeah,
from like someone you really like. She's like,
yeah,
I never thought of it like that. Of
there's
course,
an upside.
it is sad like when you break a piece of pottery, but like I'm like, oh, I wonder what will come next.
Yeah, that's a nice way to think of it.
Yeah. So I'm always super interested to ask people about like their creative process, and like obviously you said your environment's important to how you work and stuff. So I'm kind of interested to hear about like like your studio space, your creative processes, and if you have any rituals and routines around making your ceramics that you could share.
Yeah. Well, I guess whenever I am making, I like to listen to podcasts. So I guess that's kind of a ritual I do. And my studio is like a shed. It actually used to be our bedroom.
Oh.
For 2 years, we slept in the living room on like a pull-out bed because we really needed to have. My husband paints too, for those of you who don't know, and he does like illustration work too. So I think it was 2020 we did that. Like, the kind of start of the pandemic, and we were like, right, we're gonna need a better space that we can kind of access and do. So we bought like a pull-out bed, and we turned our bedroom, because we had 2 bedrooms, and we turned ours into our studio. And it was honestly brilliant, like, because it was just there and it was warm. And we just, when the kids went to bed, we just would go in there, and like he got a lot done and I got a lot done. But now we have my father-in-law actually built me like a tin shed that's just like out in the garden, which is amazing to have this space, but it is cold. So sometimes, like, I'm really glad to have a bed and a bedroom there, but sometimes I do miss it. So yeah, that's our space right now. But it's great because the kiln's in there, because before it was in like a separate, like, kind of old rumbling shed. So everything I need is in one place, and I have like stuff for the kids there too if they're with me. And Gary's got his kind of corner too to do his stuff. So that's the kind of setup we have now. And yeah, podcasts and a hot water bottle are key. Yeah, it is. I think at this kind of season of life that I'm in, really handy to have a space that's at home, because with young kids about, like, it's harder to kind of go out, and also where we are that aren't really shared studio spaces. But sometimes we definitely do feel like we're missing that community feel. So it is what works for us now. And I guess we'll see how things change and what comes in the future.
Very interesting. And have you worked in any other like studio spaces, be it for like at art college? I guess you would have had a studio photography.
Yeah, I guess I had my own like studio space at college, and in that way, you have your little kind of section, don't you? And find out the same kind of thing in the degree. But yeah, aside from that, I haven't, no. Just shared with Gary.
So you actually share part of your space with him then?
It's quite a good size of a shed. I have most of it. Because he does now. He used to work from home, but he does now go out to work, so he's not there as much as I am. And he also has like a little section inside that he can paint from too. So he has, like, when you go right in the door, he's just on the left, and he's got his easel and a little desk, and then I pretty much have the rest of it with the kiln and shelves and packaging and my table and slab roller and stuff. So.
And are you in there much at the same time? And if so, how does that work?
Usually only on the weekends. We always have great plans to work in the night, and I don't know about you, but by the time I get the kids to bed, like, now I need to just sit down. And that can be hard. I know he struggles with that a lot of the minute, because he's obviously at a job during the day, and he needs to also do this, like, for himself and like for his paid projects. So we need to I think whenever it's lighter, in the summer and stuff, it's easier to do stuff like that. Here it is so dark this time of year, that it's not as handy. So we'll often have like studio weekends and things like that, or every so often, like, the last couple of years he's taken like a week off a year and like done like a solid painting week. And both of those times the two have got into the REA show, so it obviously works for him.
I seen his last name at the show.
Yeah,
it's like,
it's really good. But yeah, we don't get to, we miss it because we are quite codependent on each other. So it would be nice if we had more time there together, but like I said, this season of life right now, this is what it looks like for us. And yeah.
And the kids are usually happy, if you're doing weekend stuff, happy to just knock about.
Yeah, they are. One of them like is always like she wakes up every day. It's like, right, today I'm going to make this, and she's got like this
Oh,
little vision in her
that's
head.
really interesting.
The other one like so because it opens into like the little garden space we have. As long as she can roam, she's okay.
Mm-hmm.
They still do get cranky, like it's not smooth sailing. Like I don't
Yeah.
mean to say kind of idyllic because it's not, but it
Yeah.
works okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good. Yeah, so I suppose that kind of brings me to the next question, which is how has twin motherhood affected, evolved, or changed the way you create and your creative process? You've obviously touched on it a little bit, but if you want to go into more depth.
Yeah, I guess it's changed it dramatically. Like I said right at the start, the very fact that I'm doing this is because kind of the initial childcare costs ruled out me going back to like doing something I wouldn't have enjoyed. So it worked out for my benefit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can be really tricky, obviously like they're 5 now, but they have, the same emotional needs and it can be a lot. And one of them is neurodivergent and that takes quite a lot of energy and they don't reliably go to school either, that one. So it's not, it's hard to like she's been with me the past 2 days. So it can be very tricky. That takes a lot of space and can be quite challenging. I definitely find it hard to kind of consistently show up online, which, when Instagram's kind of your marketing tool, that can be tricky.
Yeah.
This year, I've started like scheduling my posts, which has been really good. And it means I don't have to like be there all the time. But the thing is I like forget. I'm also trying to like be a bit better in my captions with like little bits of actual stuff rather than just like a 1 word caption. I'm trying to like share my day. And then I forget what I wrote and the post will go live and I'm like, oh yeah, I did put that.
Yeah.
But that's actually been working out well and helping me be a bit more consistent in that respect. So yeah, the question was about motherhood. I guess it informs so much. They're here a lot of the time and they're obviously like the main part of my life. I take them to school and come home and go straight to the studio and then that's like my solid work time and then the afternoons I'm with them. So it also kind of dictates my working schedule and routine too. But no, they're really good. And like one of them, if she sees me taking photos, she'll be like, she knows like she just knows what like she needs to do, which is really funny because she's obviously watched me.
Yeah.
Or like if I take a photo of my food, she'll like hold her spoon over like before I ask her to do that.
Yeah.
She's just like this.
Brilliant.
It's funny what they pick up, and I think like it's really important for Guy and I to like feel like we're raising them alongside us and introducing them to like these creative kind of things from a young age. So yeah.
Definitely. That's really interesting. When I was writing this question, I was thinking, I was going to ask you, I wonder how she started doing everything in twos. Like, does she make always 2 pots and 2 of the same pot?
Yeah. They're really annoyed actually because I replaced their last bowls with just like a set of 4 that are all the same color. Because before they like just choose their own seconds and they're always then this is my bowl and that one must be washed for them all the time. So I made them all the same color and now they're annoyed because they don't know which one is theirs and they're all the same. We don't need to do that now.
And yeah, at this point in my life, I'm like, I can't imagine giving like a bowl that could break to like, obviously, my daughter's only 2.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it must get to the point. We only had one plate for ages, so she couldn't pick. We only had one plate. But eventually, I can't wait to give her like one of your beautiful plates or bowls, and she can like treasure it, and it'd be like,
yeah. Or like with their mugs, I'll sometimes like write their name in the inside and underglaze so that when they finish it, it'll be there, and then they also know whose is whose. So
yeah.
they're like they love to come out and play with the clay too, and they definitely are more sculptural than I am. They're like, look at this cat.
Love that. So like, just zooming into that a little bit more, what does your typical day look like? So from when you get up to when you go to bed,
Okay.
what's your typical day and where do you fit in your, because I know it's probably a bit like dyeing. There's the dyeing, this is kind of what it's like for me anyway at the minute. There's dyeing that I feel like I need to do because I need to make money. And then there's experimental dyeing that I want to do that feeds me.
Yeah.
And weighting those things is difficult, but also in an ideal world, all my dyeing would be experimental. And I don't know, it would be more of a fuller studio practice, kind of like at art college, rather than necessarily like production. I don't know. So I'm kind of interested to know like how you weight those like
Yeah.
experimental versus like, do you just need a good excuse to do it? Do you need someone like to be like, Laura, I really need a mug that's made with like grasses, like with the trees, like, or like how do you, yeah, that's the question.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel the exact same about what you said. Like, so my kind of daily rhythm, I guess, would be I get them to school and come back at like 9 o'clock, and I go out to the studio, and I have like a good solid chunk of time then to get through what I need, and then they finish school at the minute at 2. So that's kind of my window. I also have lunch in that time and try and have like at least half an hour to just kind of be before I need to get them again. But then the afternoons are very much just with them and like us doing whatever we can to kind of keep on top of the house together because that definitely takes a backseat, doesn't it? When you work from home, like you feel like you also need to do all those things. And like I do, you know, I am the one here, so I should be the one putting the clothes in the washing machine. But it can be hard to juggle all of that. So I usually just do that stuff with the kids. And then they can like kind of help and see what we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, like I said, whenever they go to bed, I would love to keep working in the evening, but often that's not the case. So I try and do like a bit of yoga or something like to kind of switch off from the day or watch some TV and yeah, take it from there. And now, like my neurodivergent kid, sleep has never been great. But within the last year, we've kind of been consistently getting a good night's sleep, although last night she was up for a couple of hours. So then that can be hard too when you're trying to get a good start in the next day when you're exhausted, as you know, I'm sure, with a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely hard time-wise. I feel like I'm often just going through my essential tasks when I want more time to explore, like you said, the things that I want to try out. But I think I am getting better at that because I think like maybe a year or a year and a half ago, I felt like I was kind of trapped a little bit in my making, that I had to make this mug and keep them always like that forever now because people knew that this size and this size is this, and that's what I needed to keep making. Mm-hmm. And that like I think made me kind of feel a bit like kind of stuck in it. Whereas at the minute, I'm really just enjoying like, and I still make like those shapes, but I'm enjoying also just like making random other shapes, like a set of 10 or 2 of this kind of cup and keeping it loose because like I'm not a factory. I'm not like, you know, I'm just somebody making it by hand and I can do that. And I don't think people are buying mugs to have consistency from a small maker. You know, you're buying it because it's a nice mug and you'll find the shape that works for you. So I think in that way, I'm trying to bring back in some playfulness. Mm-hmm. But also like when somebody like you, for instance, asks me like, and you have like kind of not always necessarily a color, but a theme to go off. Or, like if somebody asks me, oh, do you do like a candlestick or this kind of pot? And I'm like, no, but let me have a go. And then I'm like, have that kind of paid output to like play with it and make it work. And that kind of is a win-win, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely like essential tasks some weeks are all I get through.
Yes.
And also one thing to note too, like this time of year, it's a lot slower moving in terms of making because the clay is taking so much longer to dry out. Whereas in the summer, I would throw something and I would need to cover it in plastic, like to turn it in the morning because it would dry it too much. Whereas now, like I'll often have a throw-in day on a Monday and it could be Wednesday or sometimes even Thursday. before it's dry enough to turn and like attach a handle. Like it really does slow you down as well, depending on the time of year and where you are in the world. So yeah, it's having to like be mindful of those things within my time frame as well.
Yes.
But, yeah.
That sounds a bit like my sourdough. Like in the winter, it seems to take, well, it's been taking
Yeah.
like 2 days to ferment. But I guess that's kind of like what it is to be like living with the seasons, like in
Yeah,
essence,
it's
really.
a good lesson, I guess, in slowing down, but it can hold you back as
It's
well when you
can be also
have
frustrating.
yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah. How is your sourdough going after your class?
Oh, amazing. That class was amazing.
Yeah. I must try
And
it. I had a starter like a couple of years ago, but
yeah,
I think like just the twins, like I had enough, I couldn't manage it and it died. I
yeah,
do make bread sometimes, but so now maybe that they're a bit bigger, I can try that again. But
yeah.
I don't know. Don't know if I'm ready.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. It seems to me like it was a big learning curve at the start, but now I kind of know how to fit it into my schedule so that it doesn't feel like a burden.
Yeah.
Because I think if you're following every instruction like that, it probably would feel quite like a big burden to.
Yeah.
But now, yeah, I think I'm talking to Dara as well. I've realized like it's a lot more flexible than even I thought. Like I knew you could fit it into your day, but I felt like there were certain things like I had to learn before I could do that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, until it comes kind of natural for you.
Yeah, but it was brilliant. I'd really recommend it.
Yeah.
So I guess that kind of wraps up our interview. Where can we find you on the internet or elsewhere?
Mm. Well, you can find me on Instagram and on my own website, which I finally have sorted back again. It took it down a while ago to try and like rework it entirely. And like we were talking about essential tasks, I've never quite got it right to where I wanted it again. But because my design team, which is Gary, doesn't have much time either. But I've got it back up now, and we're going to kind of work on it slower because that's the thing. There's no rush with these things, and it's just what you want. It doesn't. People don't mind. You can work at your own pace.
Yeah, cool. Thanks very much. And
Thanks for having me.
yeah, you can all go and check out Laura's beautiful ceramics now and get yourself a little mug. And yeah, thanks for joining me. And until next time.